Hi everybody, my name is Sorcha and I'm a nutritionist and healthy lifestyle blogger from Ireland. And on this channel I help make healthy living simple because it doesn't have to be complicated. In today's video we're going to look at nutrition and health claims that we see on our foods. And I'm going to be using the European Food Safety Authority and Food Safety Authority Ireland laws, but basically I'm going to look at how sometimes these health claims and nutrition claims can make the food look so good for us and they can be quite misleading. A health claim is any claim that states, suggests, or implies a relationship exists between a food category or food or one of its constituents and health. For example, if the food says, this food will make you more energetic, or this food will help you concentrate, or this food will help give you strong bones. So there are three main types of health claims that you will see on your food. The first one is a claim that this food or an ingredient in this food will help reduce the risk of getting a disease. For example, calcium and vitamin D helps build strong bones that will reduce the risk of getting osteoporosis. The next type of health claim refers to the development and health of children, where the science behind the claim is only valid for children. So I'm going to use calcium as an example again, but basically it could say calcium and vitamin D for strong bones and growth. So for adults, yes, calcium and vitamin D will help with strong bones, but as adults have stopped growing, the growth part is only valid for children and adolescents. And the third type of health claim is a general health claim. So this claim would be something like it aids a bodily function. For example, fibre aids digestion. Something very important to remember is a food cannot claim that it can cure or treat an illness. Some other rules are that the food can't claim that if you don't eat it or drink it, if it's a liquid, then your health will be negatively affected. If this food is claiming that it promotes weight loss, it can't make reference to the rate or the amount of weight loss it will cause. Health claims must include how much of the food you need to consume in order to get the benefits. It should also make reference to people who need to avoid it. For example, perhaps pregnant women need to avoid it. Young children under the age of 6 might need to avoid it. It must also state that this food should be eaten as part of a balanced diet, so people don't decide to just eat this food. It should also state if there's any risk in over-consuming this food. For example, if you over-consume it, would you get side effects? A nutrition claim is any claim that states, suggests, or implies that a food has particular beneficial nutritional properties due to the energy, such as the calories, it provides at reduced or increased rate, or does not provide, and or the nutrients or other substances it contains at a reduced or increased proportions, or does not contain. In other words, nutrition claims look at the nutrients. An example would be fat-free or high in protein or source of fibre. So basically nutrition claims are about the nutrients, the calories, the protein, the fat, the carbohydrate, fibre, I already said protein, salt, vitamins and minerals, and also water. If you haven't already, check out my video on nutritional labels, which also looks at how to read nutritional labels. The nutritional claims are kind of extra. They're what you see on the front of the packaging. They say source of iron, high in fibre, high in protein. Those are nutritional claims. When they mention the nutrients and they're promoting how much of that nutrient is in it, you'd see them on protein bars, obviously, high in protein. You might see high in antioxidants. A lot of breakfast cereals have high in iron or source of fibre. Now, there are certain conditions that must be made before the food manufacturer is allowed to put these claims on their food. And I have the link to the Food Safety Authority website that shows you all these conditions that have to be met. I'm going to mention a few common ones in this video, but the link is down below if you want to check that out for yourself. One thing to be aware of is hidden sugars. Hidden sugars are when the claim says perhaps no added sugar. That doesn't mean there's no sugar in that food. There could be naturally occurring sugars from fruit or honey. That doesn't mean that the food is necessarily unhealthy, but it's just to be aware of it. Then as for low sugar, the food needs to have 5 grams or less per 100 grams, or if it's a liquid, 2.5 grams or less per 100 mils. And then for sugar-free, that doesn't mean the food has no sugar at all in it. It has to have 0.5 grams or less per 100 grams of the food or per 100 mils of the fluid. Another claim to be aware of is low fat or fat-free. First of all, make sure you remember that dietary fat is important, and just because something said it's low fat or fat-free doesn't make it healthier. In fact, a lot of the time when something is low fat or fat-free, it can have a lot of added sugar or salt to actually make it taste nice, because fat is a flavour carrier. For the food to carry the claim that it is low in fat, then it needs to have 3 grams or less per 100 gram of fat, and that's total fat. And then 1.5 grams or less, or 1.5 grams of fat or less if it's in a fluid, so per 100 mils. Then for fat-free, it's the same as sugar. It needs to have 0.5 grams of fat or less per 100 grams or per 100 mils. Like I said, fat is important, so it's important that you look at the type of fat this food actually contains. You want it to be low in saturated fat and trans fats. And foods can have these claims. They can say low in saturated fat. Now, foods that say source of omega-3, source of polyunsaturates, source of monounsaturates, those foods are good. You want to try and include those foods in your diet. Back to the sugar again. So foods that say they're sugar-free or low sugar, particularly diabetic sweets, they contain a lot of artificial sweeteners. And we don't know a lot about artificial sweeteners, particularly the way that they will affect us long term. Now, there is a list of safe artificial sweeteners, but they're changing. Like sweeteners that were on the list maybe 10 years ago aren't on the list now because we found out through science that they actually aren't safe. One would be aspartame. It's quite a common one, and we do now know that it can change the chemistry of our brain to make you crave unhealthy food. These artificial sweeteners aren't absorbed by our body. Our body can't process them. So I would be more inclined to go with the full sugar food, whatever it is, and have it in small amounts instead of going for the sugar-free or low sugar. Also, diabetic sweets, I did mention them before, and diabetic candies, whatever. They contain sweeteners, and if you eat them in large amounts, they do have a laxative effect. And I have a think that any food that causes a laxative effect, unless of course it is a laxative, isn't that good for you. Now for the claim light or light, it can be spelled either way. When you see that, you automatically think, oh, this is low in, well, whatever it said, it might be low in fat or low in sugar than the original version. It has to be 25% lower in that particular nutrient than the original version. So for example, cream cheese, the original one might have, I'm making up these numbers, might have 15 grams of fat in it per 100 grams. So then the light version would have 11.25 grams, which is still quite high. So be aware that just because it says light, it doesn't mean that it's very low in that particular nutrient. It just means that it's less than the original. Even though there are loads of laws covering how these nutrition and health claims work, they are used as a marketing tactic by food manufacturers. So we just need to be a little bit wary, and we need to know how to interpret them. Once you know how to interpret them, it's fine. You'll be fine. So also you just need to be aware that sometimes manufacturers can put loads of health claims and loads of nutritional claims which they can legally put on their food packaging and make this food look like it's so healthy. Like, this food is low in fat, it contains this all these B vitamins, vitamin C. But unless you look at the bigger picture, unless you look at how much sugar does it have, how much salt does it have, that the whole picture, you can't really say that the food is 100% healthy. Anyway, no food is 100% healthy. You're always going to find something in a food that maybe people can say it's not healthy. For me, all food is fuel. Just to be aware though, because if you're diabetic and you see a food and it says it's low in fat, it contains all these vitamins and all these minerals, and you think automatically it must be healthy, I'll have that, but you don't realize that it's really high in sugar, then you're going to be harmed, your health is going to be harmed. And obviously, food manufacturers aren't going to put on their packaging, this food is high in sugar, or this food is high in saturated fat, or this food is high in salt. That's what you need to be aware of. You need to know how to read the nutritional labels, which, like I said before, I have done a video on it, so if you want to check that out, that will help you. Next, I want to look at breakfast cereals, because for me, they're the ones that I find seem to have loads of nutritional claims on them. Now, breakfast cereal is great. I don't mind my little bowl of cereal once in a while, but they can say things like high in fiber, high in iron, or source of iron, or source of fiber. They can say they're full of B vitamins. They usually are fortified with things like vitamin D. All these things are great, but there's one thing that breakfast cereals, I think a lot of people aren't aware of, is they can be so high in sugar, which is probably the safest thing you could eat. But if you do eat your cereal and you like cereal, don't stop eating it just because what I'm telling you. You just need to be aware that even cereals that don't have chocolate in them or don't have marshmallows in them, like Lucky Charms, which I don't understand how people can eat marshmallows in cereal. But anyway, that's just me. So that's what you need to be aware of, that just because something looks healthy and it has these nutrition claims, it has these health claims, you need to look at the big picture. Another claim that I don't even understand how it would be a claim, but is organic or natural. These two words, if people see them on foods, they automatically think, oh my god, this food is so healthy, I'm going to buy it. These words have no regulatory laws around them, like anybody could put it on. I'm going to use an example. The Natural Confectionery Company, I love their sweets by the way, but just saying, you think Natural Confectionery Company, they must make sweets that are natural, have no sugar in them and only use fruits and stuff like that. But they're just like any other jelly sweet. There's no special health benefits to eating them. They're just called the Natural Confectionery Company, and I think whoever done made up their name or done their marketing was very smart, because people don't generally look at the back of the pack at the nutritional information, and they will look and see the name and think these sweets are healthier than that bag of Skittles over there, I'll buy these, and that's not the case. As for organic foods, yeah, the whole pesticides, not being able to use them and all, maybe, but in general, they're just a lot more expensive and no significant difference in the nutritional value. Getting our vegetables that are any vegetables or any fruit is just as good and doesn't have the price tag. I have to say I am guilty of this one, but crisps or potato chips, when they say oven baked, not fried, I used to think, great, these don't have as much saturated fat in them. But that's not really true. They're normally quite high in salt as well, just for the taste, because when crisps are fried, the fat gives them the taste. But when they're oven baked, you're kind of missing out on a bit of the fat, so they add salt. But generally, they're still quite high in saturated fat. So just know that oven baked doesn't mean they're that much healthier than the fried crisps. If you're going to have crisps, go for the fried if you like them. There's not that much difference. Check the ingredient list. That's kind of an indication on how good a quality this food is. For example, in my other video on nutritional labels, I looked at chicken soup that was in a packet. It was a powder. And I think chicken was like near the end of the ingredient list, meaning that there wasn't that much chicken in it. The ingredient list is done by order of the amount of ingredient that is in the food. So if you're getting something that says tomato soup, you would want tomatoes to be the first ingredient on that list. If I was having chicken soup, I would want the chicken to be between the first and the third ingredient on the list. If you were having something and you wanted to know how much sugar is in it, yeah, you can look at the nutritional label, but if you look at the ingredient list and if it's the first, second or third ingredient on the list, then that product is high in sugar, or it mostly consists of sugar. Check the serving size as well, because on the nutritional label, it needs to say how much nutrient is in the food per 100 gram of the food and per serving size of the food. And the serving size can be less than 100 grams or it could be more than 100 grams. For it to be low in salt, the food needs to have 0.3 grams or less of salt per 100 grams. And for it to be low in sodium, it needs to have 0.12 grams or less of sodium per 100 grams. But imagine if the serving size is double 100 grams, maybe it's 200 grams or 250 grams. You're going to be getting double that amount. So look at the serving size and look at how much salt is in per 100 grams, because that's where the claims are based on, per 100 grams, not per serving size. Thanks for watching my video. I hope you liked it and I hope it helps you. Make sure you look at my nutritional label video if you like this video. It will look at more how to read the nutrition information and other things that would be on food labels. If you did like this video, which I hope you did, make sure you hit the like, subscribe and notification bell so you'll be notified when I put up any more videos. Bye!